You're listening to Mr. Credit on San Diego 1700 with local credit expert Derek Evans. Now, live in studio, Mr. Credit.
Welcome to Mr. Credit. We are live and local here in San Diego, bringing you the most important hour in radio and telling you everything they don't want you to know. We're talking about credit scoring, the credit bureaus, the banks, the government, and, of course, the media. Padres won in Philly yesterday and still have a half-game lead on L.A. for first place in the National League West. That's right. Your Padres, your San Diego Padres are in first place. Let's give them some support. Tonight we're in New York facing the Mets at 4 p.m. You can catch all the Padres action, all of it, right here on San Diego 1700. So save this station in your dial. Today we're going to be talking about, hey, it's vote day. So hopefully you've already voted. Polls open at 7 a.m. If you haven't, they'll be open late, so make sure you get out and do so. However, I will say there are some who should vote and some who shouldn't. We'll talk about that in a second. Going to get to your emails, and we're going to catch up on the news. So first let's talk about this whole voting deal. Now, first things first, you shouldn't just run out and vote, okay? If you're a Democrat and you just say, well, I'm going to go vote for all the Democrats, that is not the way this is set up to be. Of course, your voice matters and your vote counts either way, but that can sometimes be actually the sad part. It's exactly how we got into the mess that we're in right now, okay, because everyone just wanted to vote for somebody else. They just wanted somebody else in office. So if you're upset with the way things are going, just going and voting against the incumbent is not the smart thing to do, okay? If you don't know what the person you're voting for stands on, where they stand, and that you agree with them for certain reasons, you shouldn't vote. Don't just vote for Republicans because you're a Republican. Don't just vote for Democrats because you're a Democrat. Make sure you know what's going on before you just run out there and vote, okay? There's some key propositions, too, which I'm going to go through them one by one a little bit later, but I want to make sure everyone knows that you shouldn't just run out and vote if you don't know what's going on. And I will be voting myself, and I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to vote a little bit later. So let's get to some of these news stories. I mean, we were just drowned in absolute shockers. I mean, shockers in the news. So this one is interesting. I wanted to bring this one up first because I see this all the time, and it's hard to believe. And I know some of you aren't going to believe that this happens, but it's a very rampant problem. This one came from CNN Money. Financial abuses of deadbeat parents. And I think deadbeat's the right word, and I don't use that word lightly, but I agree with the headline in this case. And it goes on to say, for parents who've wrecked their own credit rating, cashing in on junior's clean financial history is increasingly tempting. Children make easy targets for identity theft because they don't use their own credit, and they're likely not to notice until they reach adulthood. So when a parent uses their own child, the risk of prosecution is lower because of the family ties, obviously. It's not easy to turn in mom or dad, especially if they were simply trying to provide for the family. The parent is saying, I have to keep the lights on and the router running, and the water running. But unfortunately, they often fall behind on payments, and in the end, they just put their child behind the eight ball. Now, I see this all the time because someone will come to me, and it's not just the juniors and the thirds and so forth who have this problem, although that is also a rampant problem with the credit bureaus. But I see people come and they say, I've never done any of this. All this stuff in my report, my dad did it, or my mom did it, or my brother did it. They used my name. They knew what my social was. They went and opened accounts in my name, knowing they were never going to pay them back, knowing they were going to screw me. And, what do I do about it? And the reality is that's fraud. That is fraud. It's identity theft. Even if it's a family member, it's still identity theft. So if your credit has been, hit by something like this, it doesn't matter that it's a family member. You still have to go through the same procedure. Remember our procedure for identity theft problems. The procedure is you have to file the police report first. I know that doesn't sound too, encouraging when it's one of your family members, but you have to do it. If you don't file the police report, you won't get anywhere in getting it corrected. You won't get anywhere. Now, you can go through the typical dispute process with the bureaus, but like I said, I declared war on the bureaus last week for a reason, because they are ignoring reasonable requests right now. They are not conducting reasonable investigations either, because they know the government is busy, too busy to pay attention to your and my credit, and therefore they're taking advantage of it because they know exactly what to do at all times. They have direct ties. Remember, the banks are tied to the government.
Now the bureaus are also tied directly to the government. Chairperson for TransUnion, sitting on Obama's Economic Advisory Board. If you didn't hear what Obama said recently, you got to go. You got to go online and look it up. It's pretty funny. But anyway, I'm not going to say it because we try not to curse that much here on the show. Here's one. This is what I'm talking about. Now, when I tell you that I go out to the high schools and I'm trying to reach these kids before they get to college, there's a reason. Because in college, it's piranha hour. It is. The credit card companies, the banks behind them, go after college students with a ferocity that is unmatched in almost any other marketing effort, because they know for a fact when people are in college, they're in a very borrowing mood because they have to borrow. Most of them don't work, or they don't work much. The money they work for, hey, that's drinking money, right? And if or party money, whatever you do, that's what the students do. So they're in a borrowing mood. They're getting student loans. They know that this is a time in their life when they're going to borrow. They're going to have to borrow, but they're going to get a job, right? They're going to graduate, get a job, and they'll be able to pay it back. So the mindset of the students that are in college is that borrowing's okay. It's normal, and that's what we should do. The banks and the credit card companies, they go into those schools on purpose and target these kids to try to get them to sign up for credit cards, knowing full well, and they always try to get the parent as a cosigner. They want to have more people to come after, and they know the parents will pay it ultimately if they have to, in most cases. This has been a very good business plan for the banks and the credit card companies. Listen to this. This is the headline. Bank pays millions to Yale to market its credit cards. Okay? Yale University signed a 7-year deal with Chase Bank worth a guaranteed $8 million to sell access to alumni, staff, sports fans, and potentially students for the bank's credit cards. What in the heck is going on? So Yale is able to completely sell out its students, to sell out its alumni, its staff, its fans. How does Yale have the right to sell them out like that? And look at Chase Bank paying $8 million, a 7-year deal, over $1 million a year, to get in there and advertise to these people for their credit cards. Now, I'm not against advertising. I'm certainly not against business. I'm definitely not against making money. But there's lines that have got to be drawn in the sand here. I mean, these universities, these kids especially, they don't know. They don't know anything. Believe me, when I go talk to these high school students, they don't have a clue. They don't know what an auto loan is. This stuff isn't taught. They don't teach it to them. That's why I'm trying to go there and get it in their brains. This is how the stuff works. So this, in my opinion, is not correct. I don't think it's immoral, but I would say from a business perspective, thinking business ethics only, it's unethical for them to target people who don't understand their product and who they are targeting because they know they don't understand the product. But in the end, it's all about that money, and they're going to find it wherever it is out there. And this has been a cash register for the banks, for the credit card companies for years, and that is not going to change anytime soon. Expect this to continue. But who knew that they could actually buy it? I mean, we've seen the stands set up. You know, if you go to a college campus, they got the stand set up to give me a free T-shirt. Here, sign up for a credit card. Hey, free money, free money. Not free. Costs you about 30%. So now we know how they get that set up, because they're actually contracting with the university. The university is making money. Don't you think universities are charging enough money for education these days? What's the one thing besides the sun rising and setting every day that you can count on? College tuition going up every single year. No matter what. I mean, it doesn't matter what the economy's doing. Doesn't matter what the school is offering. Doesn't matter what the enrollment is. Does not matter one bit. Tuition is going up, and you can bet your bottom dollar on it. Now, we've seen what happens when things work that way. We've seen what happens when the housing market did that. Bubble burst. Now you've got kids out there going and getting an education that they think they need to survive, to make it in life. And they're just going to pay whatever the cost is. And the longer that continues, the bigger of a problem we're going to have. I'm going to read a story to you a little later in the show about how student loan debts are actually looking at being potentially discharged in bankruptcy.